Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me as the Kansas City Chiefs are 6-5.
Oh man, you just believe. You just believe every snap.
No, it's the best, man. He's our fearless leader, man. That guy's the most competitive human being I know, and we love him for how he leads this team, both on the field and practice throughout the week. And right now, man, it's he's leading us into victory, man. It's the best.
The Chiefs beat the Indianapolis Colts in overtime, 23-20, in a game that they absolutely needed. They stay in the hunt for the playoffs. They go above 500 and beat one of the better teams in the entire AFC. That's probably what was so big about this. It's not just a win for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a win where their backs are against the wall. They have one of the best teams in the entire NFL coming into Arrowhead off of a bye week. The Colts had 2 weeks to prepare for the Kansas City Chiefs. And yet the Chiefs came out, went down by 11 points, fought their way back tooth and nail, grittily pulling themselves back within striking distance of the Indianapolis Colts. And then when the game was on the line, as he always has done, Patrick Mahomes takes the game over, drops dimes all over the field, uses his legs, and dominates. And now the Kansas City Chiefs are right there. Everything the Chiefs want is still right in front of them. Maybe not the AFC West, maybe not the number one seed, but the ability to get back into the playoffs, to have a chance in the tournament. And we can go back to Marty Schottenheimer if we want to, because we know the number one goal, get into the tournament. Because once that happens, anything can happen. The Chiefs have once won a Super Bowl. It was the second one they won against the 49ers by going through Buffalo and through Baltimore. So if you don't think the Chiefs can go on the road in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl, well, they've already proved you wrong. So not only are you a hater, you're a dumb hater too. And that is why everybody in Kansas City should be fired up about the fact the Kansas City Chiefs not only won against the Indianapolis Colts, but proved that they are still the grittiest team in the NFL who will come up big when the game is on the line. It's been a tough year with the close games. The Chiefs came into the Colts game 5-5 with 5 wins by multiple scores and 5 losses all by 1 score. Really, something you almost never see in the NFL. It's always worth noting when it happens. And they won their first 1-score game today in overtime on the beautiful kick by Harrison Butker, a guy who deserves a lot of credit because we were giving him a lot of criticism in the first 6 games of the year. But now through the last 5 games, Harrison Butker has been absolutely flawless, kicking beautifully every single time, except for a block against the Broncos, but that was also, it was a block. It's not all his fault. The crazy thing about that blocked extra point, 1 foot to the right or left. Sometimes things just happen, and you got to deal with it. The odds of that block actually happening were so small, it was infuriating. But we have a lot to get to. The Chiefs play better when they have no margin for error. The Chiefs are a stronger team when they don't have any room to screw up. All they can do is go out guns blazing, play disciplined football, and rack up every single point they can. And that's something the Chiefs have done so well this year in the games they've won. But in the games they've lost, it just seems like they didn't have that fire at the end. They lacked disciplinary football at the end. The biggest difference in the game for the Kansas City Chiefs against the Indianapolis Colts was disciplined football at the end. That's why I thought it was so laughable when everybody was talking about blowing up the Kansas City Chiefs, what the dynasty is over. My favorite thing this morning was on Fox when somebody asked that asinine question to 3 panelists, former NFL players and absolute legends, Howie Long, Michael Strahan, and Rob Gronkowski. 3 generations of dominance in the NFL laughed at that ridiculous question about will the Chiefs dynasty be over if they lose to the Colts? Well, I guess we'll never know. But even if they had, it wouldn't have been over. Clearly, it was just an absurd narrative thrown out there by people who want the Chiefs to fail. We've seen them for years. They want the Chiefs to fail. People are always waiting for the Chiefs to falter, and they're always predicting, almost trying to will it to happen. But every year, the Chiefs figure it out. They might start off slow. They might have some sloppy wins, some games where you watch it and you get really frustrated. I needed some Tylenol and some Pepto-Bismol after this game. But they always find a way to figure it out in the end. And that's what makes the Kansas City Chiefs organization under Andy Reid one of the greatest organizations in the history of football. And Andy Reid had to go away from some of his play calling. That was one of the biggest keys to the Chiefs winning this game against the Colts. Andy had become married to this short passing game that replaces the run game. And it was incredibly frustrating to watch because for years it did work. But then teams started to figure it out. We're seeing a more running back driven league this year than we have in previous seasons, where the ability to run the ball has become so much more important. And more teams are playing under center. More teams are working with play action. The West Coast offense, the Andy Reid style offense that he's had for years, stopped working. And that's okay. You just have to make an adjustment because that's the NFL. Being in the NFL is just a long series of adjustments. And today against the Colts, Andy Reid made that adjustment. He handed the ball to Kareem Hunt 30 times. Kareem Hunt eclipses 100 yards, the first time a Chiefs player has done that since Kareem Hunt last season. And even more notably, it's the first time a Chiefs running back has ran for over 60 yards this entire season. 60. You have to have a balanced attack on offense in order to be consistently successful in the NFL in 2025. Andy Reid saw that, and he made the adjustment. And I'll tell you, if the Chiefs can continue to roll with Kareem Hunt like that, sky is the limit for this team, guys. They can do a lot of special things if they can keep a running game going, which let Patrick Mahomes work from play action, which helped the wide receivers get open. It's all connected. It's why I sometimes get frustrated when people talk about Mahomes or the offensive line or players not getting open. A rushing attack changes all of that. The pass rushers have to hold off a little to respect the running game. The defensive backs and the linebackers have to hold off on going into coverage because they have to respect the running game. That helps Mahomes get protection. It helps the wide receivers and tight ends have time to get open. And it gives them a little space because every linebacker, every safety, everyone on that team has to keep an eye in the backfield on the running back. And when you establish Kareem Hunt, like the Chiefs did against the Colts, you can do some incredibly impressive things with this offense that can translate not only to wins, but to Super Bowl victories.
In the backfield, here's the handoff. Hunt up and over for the touchdown. And Kareem has a touchdown for the fourth straight game.
And I'll tell you this, it would be really cool if Kareem Hunt got a Super Bowl victory in Kansas City. We got a lot to get to here, guys. We're going to be rolling for a while. I'll tell you, the Chiefs, what they did today, it was an art form. And we'll explain why that is coming up in a few minutes. But Rashee Rice is a game wrecker. And now he has his legs back. Coming off of that suspension, Rashee took some time to get into the flow of things. He became a little easier to tackle. He was struggling to have the big rack yards that we were expecting from Rashee Rice when he came back from suspension. But now he's in the flow of things. We saw significant broken tackles against the Indianapolis Colts, which led to Rashee Rice having an 8-reception, 141-yard performance. And really a breakout game for Kareem Hunt. And a beautiful game. Awesome work by him. And this is a guy that can take over the league. He is on the level of Jamar Chase when it comes to talent. He is on the level of an upper echelon wide receiver when he's locked in and he has his legs underneath him. Whatever rust there was from the suspension for Rashee Rice, it's gone now. And I think that became abundantly clear for everybody at Arrowhead Stadium today, including and especially Sauce Gardner in the Indianapolis Colts. Keep feeding Rashee Rice. It is so incredibly important when you have a player like that he is a focal point of your offense. And watching that game, when the big play was needed, 4th and 3, right? Chiefs have to keep the drive alive. They have to try and at least get a field goal, down 20-17. Mahomes throws to Rashee Rice. It's a little high, right? He put it a little bit high. Well, your quarterback shouldn't have to be perfect on every single throw. That's the upsetting thing for me that we've suddenly come into with Kansas City. You don't have to be perfect all the time. And Rashee Rice goes up and pulls it down. That's why you get paid. Listen, we could just put a bunch of scrubs out there if throwing perfect passes was everything. But no, you get Rashee Rice. You get Xavier Worthy, who had a very nice catch today that required an adjustment. And that's important to note because a lot of the time when guys make catches on these perfect throws, they celebrate the same. You know, they get up, do their little celebration, little peekaboo. I saw George Pickens do that today. That was great. But the ability to go up and make a tough catch is so important in this league. And Rashee Rice shows he has that ability today. There have been other games this year since he came back from suspension where I've questioned his ability to make tough catches because he's dropped them. But that didn't happen today against the Colts. I think we saw Rashee Rice turn a massive corner for the Kansas City Chiefs in the game against Indianapolis. He's becoming the upper echelon wide receiver that we all know he can be. The guy who can take games over, high point, high passes, reel them in, and then turn them into big plays because of his ability to run after the catch. We saw broken tackles. We saw balls thrown to him that he could catch in stride and then make something beautiful happen down the field. And that's why Rashee Rice ends with 141 yards receiving out of Patrick Mahomes' 352 yards passing. You would think, based on those numbers, they put up more points, but there were a lot of field goals in this game. And that's something that Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and the rest of that offense has to come together about and find a way to make sure their red zone offense is much more effective than it was today. But it's still a win for the Chiefs, 23-20 in overtime. And winning ugly is an art form. It's not easy to go out and win ugly. It's not easy to have these games where things aren't going well, you feel sloppy, you can't finish in the red zone, which was the biggest thing for the Kansas City Chiefs. They struggled to finish in the red zone, but they kept climbing back. They kept digging their heels in the ground, and they kept fighting. We see the Denver Broncos do it a lot this year. We saw the Chiefs do it a lot last year. That gritty fight, that ugly win, there is an art to finding a way to win ugly. And the Chiefs have done a very good job over the last 2 years and against the Indianapolis Colts of proving that they can ugly up a game, muddy things down, give the ball to Kareem Hunt 30 times to run it right down your throat and pull it off at the end with Patrick Mahomes putting on the Superman cape with one drive left in overtime. That's what makes the Kansas City Chiefs a Super Bowl contender. You can put up all the numbers you want to. We used to see it all the time from Peyton Manning. In the playoffs, the ability to win ugly is everything.
Mahomes passes, and it's caught. What a catch by Rice. Now spins around Ward and falls at the 25.
The confidence the Chiefs got while playing against the Indianapolis Colts, that they could play an ugly game, They can play a game where they don't blow the team out and they can still win. Something they haven't done all season. But you saw that grittiness come back. You saw that fire in Patrick Mahomes' eyes. And he gets that fire, man. When he really gets dialed in and things aren't necessarily going well and you really need a drive, Mahomes gets locked. We've seen it his whole career that when the chips are down and things aren't going well, he's the quarterback you want. Because if your offense isn't humming along, you need a quarterback that can scramble for a first down, that can make a broken play into a big play, that can turn the tide for your entire team. That's what Patrick Mahomes was today for the Kansas City Chiefs. And the grittiness we saw from the Chiefs organization today, digging through this game, that kind of confidence that you gain from really grinding out a victory, that's worth its weight in gold, especially when it comes to the playoffs. Now we'll get to some more on Kareem Hunt here coming up in just a minute, but first, Mahomes is beating all the washed allegations, but that's not going to stop them from coming. There's always going to be people who want Patrick Mahomes to be washed at 30 years old and believing all the ridiculous narratives that they read online that are peddled by people who hate the Chiefs, or they're just manipulating people who want to see the Chiefs fall and make them believe that it's going to happen. So they buy in and they say, oh, Mahomes is washed. He's not going to be able to pull this off. He's done. He's just been bailed out by the refs. And every year, every time, these people are proven to be sad ignoramuses who are just projecting their own insecurities onto Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. It's who they are. Sad people who really want Patrick Mahomes to be washed. Well, if throwing for over 350 yards and leading yet another game-tying and then game-winning drive, if that's washed, well, then give me washed Patrick Mahomes over any quarterback in the NFL. Mahomes threw 29 of 46 for 352 yards and an interception on his first throw of the game. Started off poorly. That point forward, he throws for 352 yards, no more picks. The red zone offense wasn't on Mahomes. It's on Matt Nagy. Because watch the all 22, watch the angle from behind Patrick Mahomes. In the red zone, he didn't miss anybody who was open. There just wasn't anybody open. That leads me to believe that the play calling has become too predictable in the red zone. That's a big thing the Chiefs need to focus on over the next 4 days. Yeah, the players need to get ready. It's a 4-day rest before Thanksgiving game. And we'll talk about the Cowboys later in the show. I understand that's really hard for the players. But what Andy Reid and Matt Nagy need to do is get in a room, sit down, and have a heart-to-heart, a true, honest conversation about what's going on with this red zone offense. Why is nobody open when the Chiefs are in the red zone? How can they not dial up one play to throw a touchdown inside the 10-yard line? How is that not possible for them? It's possible for 31 other teams in the NFL. So that is the biggest thing the Chiefs must do before Thanksgiving is have Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator, and Andy Reid, the head coach, get into a room and have that discussion. More on Patrick Mahomes here in a second, but we got to get to Kareem. Kareem the Dream Hunt. Absolutely phenomenal game. 30 carries, 102 yards. The greatest short yardage back in the NFL today. And the best short yardage back in Kansas City since Marcus Allen. What Kareem Hunt does for the Kansas City Chiefs, it can't be overstated. Even when he's not getting the high volume of carries, Kareem's ability to keep the offense on schedule, get 3 or 4 or 5 yards on first down, pick up the 3rd and short or the 4th and short, running behind the highest paid center and the highest paid guard in the NFL, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. What he brings to the table is so incredibly important, it is worth its weight in gold. The greatest decision that Brett Veach has made over the last 2 years is going to get Kareem Hunt in September of 2024 after Isaiah Pacheco broke his leg and getting him to the Kansas City Chiefs. One of the luckiest things for the Chiefs in history was Kareem Hunt being available in September of 2024 because 31 other teams didn't sign him during the offseason. An incredibly lucky thing because the Chiefs and Brett Veach didn't go get him. They thought they were fine at running back. They were wrong because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back. I know, we all thought that was over, right? We all thought Clyde was done. He's not. He's back. He had a couple nice runs. I mean, there's no other options. They just stood pat at the trade deadline. And I think this is a very out there theory, but stick with me, and then we'll get back to Patrick Mahomes here in a second. Because I think people will call this somewhat of an out there theory, but I don't think it is. In the Broncos game, the Chiefs threw the ball too much. Now, based on what Andy Reid said about we had run plays called, and then they were checked out of the run play, it seems like Patrick Mahomes was frustrated that the Chiefs didn't do anything at the trade deadline. And that frustration was taken out in Denver when he decided to change the play at the line of scrimmage from a run to a pass. And he's like, well, if you're not going to get me the help, then I'm just going to go ahead and do it myself. Andy Reid seems really frustrated with him. And I wondered, is that Mahomes sort of making a little passive-aggressive message that you didn't get me a running back to help, and he wanted one? I'm not going to give it to the running backs we have. Based on the things we heard from Andy Reid, I mean, it's very rare for Andy to kind of throw someone under the bus in the media. Very rare. But with Mahomes, he kind of did. Say we had the run plays called, they were checked out of. When do you ever hear Andy say that? I think he was a little miffed. And I think Mahomes was miffed at management for not getting him Breece Hall. Because Breece Hall would significantly change this football team. That's an undeniable fact. But give Kareem Hunt credit. I mean, you can't get mad at Kareem for not being Breece Hall, right? I mean, 30 carries for 102 yards. If it was Breece Hall, it'd be like, wow, not a great average. But it's Kareem Hunt, so it's incredible. You know what I mean? You have to judge the players based on who they are. I'm not going to get mad at somebody for not being somebody more talented or being younger, especially in Kareem Hunt's case, because I don't know that Breece Hall is more talented than Kareem Hunt in any way. But at 24 years old, he is a more dynamic back than Kareem Hunt. So I don't know. That's a theory. Obviously, I can't prove that, and none of them would say that publicly. But it was odd that the Chiefs suddenly abandoned the short yardage running game only in Denver. And then Andy had something to say about it. Food for thought. Now back to Patrick Mahomes. End of game Mahomes has risen. In the big moments, Patrick Mahomes came through against the Indianapolis Colts. And we haven't seen that a lot this year in those tight games. There's a reason why the Chiefs have 5 wins with multiple scores, 5 losses, all by 1 score, and now only 1 win by 1 score. And it's because in the big moments, they've had penalties, they've had turnovers, they've had mishaps. Against the Indianapolis Colts, we saw big moment Mahomes rising once again. And we knew, we kept the faith, and we knew we will see big moment Mahomes again. And we got to see him against the Indianapolis Colts. Patrick Mahomes making a monstrous moment work for him. And he threw strikes to Rashee Rice, to Xavier Worthy, and he managed the game incredibly well to bring the Chiefs back down 20-9 to score 14 unanswered points and win this game in overtime 23-20.
It's a blitz. Stepping up and heaving it, and Worthy makes the catch. And they're in field goal.
That's why he is GOAT Mahomes. Because no matter what, even in an ugly game, in the big moments, he pulls through. And hopefully we see more of that going forward this year, because that's who he has to be. I mean, that comes with the top spot, kid. You have to be the guy in the big moment, the $500 million kid. Got to go out there and sling it. And that's what Patrick Mahomes did against the Colts. I have a lot of optimism based on what I saw from Patrick Mahomes today. He looks dialed in, looks a little ticked off. And that's when Mahomes plays at an incredible level. And I would expect him to keep doing that. Now, Travis Kelce was double-teamed the whole game because the Colts see what we see. He's the only guy in Kansas City that gets open on a consistent basis. But because he was doubled almost the entire game by the Colts, and by the way, despite that, he still ended with 4 receptions for 43 yards and a touchdown that was wrongly wiped off the scoreboard by terrible referees who thought Jawan Taylor committed a face mask when he in fact did not. But what that double team against Travis Kelce allowed was for Rashee Rice to elevate and take the game over. That's why Rice ends with 8 receptions for 141 yards. Because Travis Kelce garners so much attention from the defense. He can't retire. He can't. Sorry. The team needs you too much. And the NFL also needs Travis Kelce. And if you don't think that matters, it really does. Ask Tom Brady. They found a way to keep him going all the way until they finally could replace him a little bit. It's the truth. LeBron James is doing the same thing right now in the NBA. So they'll find a way to keep Travis Kelce around if they can. You know, I mean, Travis is a human. He has free will. But if they can sweeten the deal a little bit, the female fan base grew exponentially when Travis Kelce started dating Taylor Swift. That does, by definition, make him a much more important player to the NFL. It does. We see it all the time, man. When guys become important to the league, like, yeah, Travis is important to the Chiefs, but when they become important to the league, suddenly we see them find some kind of fountain of youth. And it would appear that's what's happened with Travis Kelce. He looked great today. Double teamed a ton. They kept trying to go to him for good reason. He's the guy that gets open. But because of that, and because the Colts see what we see when they watch film, they double teamed him all game. But still a strong game for TK87. The fact that he's able to garner so much attention opens things up for everybody else, including and especially Rashee Rice.
And one-on-one.
Mahomes passes, and it's caught. What a catch by Rice. Now spins around Ward and falls at the 25.
Here's how I know for an absolute fact the Chiefs are back. Because all the haters are chirping about Patrick Mahomes, about the Chiefs and the refs. It's what they do. They don't use their eyes. They don't use their brains. They use their hateful hearts to come after the Chiefs and try to make every Chiefs fan feel like they should be a bad person or something because they happen to be a Chiefs fan. Don't listen to these clowns. This is what it's like at the top, guys. When you're at the top, that's when everybody takes the shots. You know why it's lonely at the top? Because everyone hates you when you're there. And if you go, oh, but we didn't do anything to be hated. Most people at the top didn't do anything to be hated. People make up reasons to hate people at the top. People make up reasons to have vitriol spewing from their fingers in their mouths and coming after greatness because their own insecurities eat them alive inside, and they have to project those somewhere, so they project them onto the Kansas City Chiefs, where if the Chiefs win, it's because of the refs. If the Chiefs lose, it's because the refs didn't help them. It is the most tired narrative in the history of time, and if you're still listening to it as a Chiefs fan, I gotta tell you, just listen to my show. Forget everybody else's. They're not important. throw them out. Because if they're telling you the Chiefs are carried by the referees, they don't know what they're talking about. Or they're just having their judgment clouded by their pure hatred in their heart. And why would you want to listen to people that have hatred in their heart, that can't discern logic because they're too busy finding a reason why the Kansas City Chiefs are the root of all of their problems in their life? It's something people do when they're weak. They find a reason why the greatness isn't great. And we see it across the board. It's not just happening with the Chiefs, but obviously we hear it the loudest when it does happen with the Chiefs. We're doing this show right after the Cowboys and Eagles game. I think that's important to note. I waited until after that game so we would know what kind of Cowboys team are we seeing on Thursday on Thanksgiving. And we will do a midweek blitz Tuesday. But the Cowboys have a big comeback victory with a last-second field goal from Brandon Aubrey and a 24-21 win over the Philadelphia Eagles, the biggest frauds in the NFL. I don't think they'll make it out of the NFC, guys. There's too much drama. Nick Sirianni can't control the team. You have people saying that, telling The Athletic they don't like Jalen Hurts' approach to this season. You have A.J. Brown constantly causing a problem, acting like the team's doing terribly when they're winning. The Eagles are not long for the NFL contender picture. And they showed that today when they got up to a huge lead over the Cowboys and then just fell apart. But the flip side of that is the Cowboys are now 500, 5-5-1, going to the Thanksgiving game against the Kansas City Chiefs, who are at 6-5. Now, what that means is that this game is of the utmost importance to both teams. They're both fighting for their playoff lives. They're both finding ways to win ugly and come back in games. These are two gritty teams, and it's going to be an absolute fight on Thanksgiving. But it's a fight that I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to win, because even though the Dallas Cowboys have looked really good at times and they've been a gritty team, the Chiefs still have better talent than them across the board, and the Chiefs still have Patrick Mahomes. And I don't care how many people want to try to make me believe that Patrick Mahomes is somehow washed at 30 years old when he throws for over 350 yards. I don't care, because they can't. You can't distort the truth that a quarterback throwing for 350 yards, overcoming throwing an interception on the very first play of the game for him, his very first pass attempt. You can't convince me that guy is anything other than what I already know he is, the GOAT.
Mahomes rolling away from traffic, taking off, picked up big yardage, got a first down.
So I have the Chiefs definitely winning this game on Thanksgiving. And you know what? After a great win against the Colts, enjoy it. Monday morning, we are diving in. We are all over the Cowboys on Monday morning. So stay tuned. We will have a midweek blitz on Tuesday, getting ready for that game on Thanksgiving. And then I will see you after the game on Thanksgiving, right after the Chiefs take care of business against the Cowboys. But today, against the Colts, the Chiefs win 23-20. A beautiful game because of its ugliness. I love an ugly win. I love a gritty win because I think it shows you who you really are. And who the Chiefs really are is a 6-5 contender. And once they get into that tournament, they are the scariest team in the NFL. Nobody wants to see three-time Super Bowl winning quarterback Patrick Mahomes, three-time Super Bowl winning coach Andy Reid, and three-time Super Bowl winning tight end Travis Kelce walking through that door. Not one team in this league wants to see that. But it's what's going to happen. This has been Chiefs Chase. I'm Mike Bassano. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and enjoying this win with me as the Kansas City Chiefs are 6-5 after a 23-20 overtime victory over the Indianapolis Colts. Please like and subscribe if you can. Follow me anywhere on social media, whether it be YouTube or Spotify or Gosh, anywhere, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Threads. I try to be everywhere that I can. And I really appreciate your interaction. I appreciate you guys jumping on the lives. I appreciate you guys being part of things and listening to this show because it's the greatest thing in my life. I love this. I love this every single week. So have a great weekend. Have a great week. I'll see you on the midweek blitz, and we will get ready for turkey because it's almost Thanksgiving time. Chiefs, Cowboys. Let's get it.